Boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, fans from a galaxy far, far away and a long time ago. Well, it does seem like a very long time ago at this point that Kathleen Kennedy was announced as the head of the new Lucasfilm after it was acquired by Disney. And of course, for well over $1 billion, was it a couple of $1 billion or something like that at this point? I don't even remember anymore, but holy cow, it was a crap ton of money. George Lucas got a fat paycheck and for some reason was fooled, tricked, buttered up by Kathleen Kennedy to believe that she would be a good successor for him. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we've seen the result of that after 3 disastrous dumpster fire of movies, even though the first one was, it was all right, I guess. And actually, I liked, what was it, the Rogue Squadron or whatever? I actually liked that one. That was pretty good. And of course, The Mandalorian Season 1 and Season 2 were all right. But of course, after that, we got all of the wonderful things. Of course, we got to watch our favorite character of all time in Star Wars lore out there, Luke Skywalker, be a broken and battered man drinking green milk from a weird alien on some planet where he was hiding out from the rest of the universe. So yes, at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, even if Mando Season 1 and 2 were good, and maybe even if things eventually get better over there at Star Wars, until they get rid of those, all low roads lead to a broken Luke Skywalker drinking a green titty milk from an alien. Well, the person responsible for all that nonsense and destruction, it looks like she finally might be ready to let go of that massive grip out there, or that death grip over there on Lucasfilm, and being the arbiter of all of the disastrous dumpster fires that have come out of Star Wars over the last decade or so. Well, almost decade and a half at this point. Holy cow, boys and girls, it's been a long time since all of this is going on. And this is something that should cause all fans across every galaxy, across all of time and space, absolutely make them excited for all of this kind of stuff. At the end of the day, though, there's always a little caveat. Because even if Kathleen Kennedy's gone, right, it's not going to undo the damage that's already been done. Star Wars is essentially a dead brand, and Kathleen Kennedy is the one that's finally going to be responsible for it. And we have said on this channel for a long time, going all the way back to even our old channel, that Kathleen Kennedy is never going to get fired. She's going to get a golden parachute. She's going to get to go off into the sunset with retirement and a bunch of awards and accolades. And then everybody in that company that's ever had a problem with her is going to go, finally, the bitch is gone. But that's going to be it. That's how it's going to go. And it looks like, boys and girls, based on some of our wonderful insiders that Chris Gore and so many others have over there inside of Disney, it looks like she finally might be ready to leave. But of course, she's only going to go out on her terms, boys and girls. So we're going to check out this article from That Park Place, getting all of the juicy details. But before we do, if you do enjoy our content, hit that like button, share with all your friends, and subscribe or follow if you have not already, because we're inching our way closer and closer to 1,100, and I could not do that without every single one of you. Also, leave us a comment and let us know in the thoughts down below. Do you actually think this will give you hope? Do you think Star Wars might actually be able to turn itself around? And although it might not ever fix the problems that it had with the Disney sequel trilogy, will you actually maybe get good quality Star Wars content going forward after the witch finally leaves? Or do you think it's just permanently damaged and there will be no redemption for this whatsoever, and that the majority of the fans have simply tuned out, turned off, and will never ever come back? Let us know what you think about that in the comments section down below. So Kathleen Kennedy, ready to retire, but is waiting for a win, according to entertainment analyst. And that would be our wonderful film threat, Chris Gore, down there. And boys and girls, of course, she wants one last feather in her cap before she leaves. How they plan on doing that, I have no idea. It sounds like to me, based on not even reading much more than a quick skim through the rest of this article, that at least it sounds like to me, just based on my own personal opinion here, I have no insider industries. I report on everybody else's rumor mill stuff, not mine. Okay? But my thought would be, if they really are going to end up turning Mando Season 4 or 5 or whatever it's at this point into a movie, bringing Grogu back and all of that kind of stuff, and if the Burbank rumors are true too about forcing Luke Skywalker back into the story, that could be the end of Kathleen Kennedy's run, right? Because no matter how, unless the movie is just an absolute flat-out bomb at the box office, which is a very good potential that it could be, that could be the final feather in her cap. If they can even argue that the movie was a success and convince the Hollywood Award and pay off enough of the Hollywood's award ceremonies out there, right, to pay them off enough to give her some kind of awards for this movie, right, that will be the end of her era. But even then, that might be enough of a feather of a cap in her cap to be able to do this, so we'll find out. So Kathleen Kennedy apparently has something in common with much of the Star Wars fan base. She wants Kathleen Kennedy to leave Lucasfilm. Yes, boys and girls, haven't we all been calling this for a long time? But honestly, I hold Dave Filoni just as much responsible as I do Kathleen Kennedy and Bob Iger. So, take that with what you will, you Filoni simps. Kathleen Kennedy has something in common with the Star Wars fan base. She wants Kathleen Kennedy to leave Lucasfilm. But according to Film Threat's Chris Gore, she's only willing to walk out the door under one condition. Namely, she wants to leave on the heels of a massive critical and commercial success. That's something Lucasfilm hasn't experienced in quite some time. Yeah, Rise of Palpatine, ladies and gentlemen, which it actually turns out, after we found out all the tax filings from the United Kingdom, that movie actually lost money. Shout out to you, Kathleen Kennedy. You're doing a real bang-up job with Star Wars. Since Disney's initial acquisition of Lucasfilm in 2012, the company has been under the direction of film industry veteran Kathleen Kennedy. Back then, the longtime George Lucas and Steven Spielberg associated promised George that she would take care of his life's work. She has done nothing but. Under Kennedy, the Star Wars franchise has gone from the most evergreen IP of all time to a sour note punching bag for YouTubers and streamers the world over. Hi. You remember when you used to get excited for Star Wars toys at Christmas, even though a movie hadn't been released in like a decade and in like 2 decades? Yeah, boy, aren't those... How's the Star Wars aisle at your local Walmart doing? You remember what it was like when you were a kid? Go look at it now. Kennedy presided over the deeply unpopular Star Wars sequel trilogy, which saw the deconstruction and eventual death of Han Solo and Luke Skywalker while pushing a younger and more diverse cast. She also oversaw Star Wars, the Star Wars theory, which holds the distinct of being the first ever Star Wars film to lose money at the box office. And like I said, we found out later about the Rise of Palpatine. When you couple that with critical and commercial failures on Disney Plus, like The Acolyte, Ahsoka, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and The Book of Boba Fett, I mean, this list is as long as your leg. Okay, we could do this all day. It becomes clear that under Kennedy's supervision, Star Wars has fallen a long way away from the powerhouse sci-fi franchise it once was. Every failed project and announcement that never ultimately sees the light of the day, fans around the world ask a series of unifying questions. Will Kathleen Kennedy leave Star Wars? Will Disney fire Kathleen Kennedy? No. How does Kathleen Kennedy still have a job? Because she's been in the industry long enough to she knows where all the bodies are buried. She knows she's got all the dirt on a whole lot of people in Hollywood, and that's the only reason she isn't gone yet. But it does sound like they might be forcing her to change direction either way. According to the Film Threat's Chris Gore, on a recent episode of The Pro Show with WW Pro, Kathleen Kennedy actually wants to leave Lucasfilm, but only under one very specific circumstances. We've been hearing lately that Kathleen Kennedy is not very hands-on with Star Wars at this point. Well, I would hope so, and thank God for that. I don't know, but clearly it's not doing any good for us anymore. Hollywood scooper WW Pro said to Chris Gore on a recent episode of his live stream YouTube show, "Are you hearing anything similar that she may be operating in title only, at least for now?" Gore then confirmed that he was hearing similar rumblings before dropping a bit more information. Tell me that's not fascinating. She's done. She's finished with Star Wars. She's burnt out. She's tired of all the backlash. She's tired of all the nonsense. She's tired about all the YouTube videos. She's tired about all the thumbnails that her face ends up on. She's tired of even the Hollywood critics. Even the simps for the spirit of the age out there can no longer defend this. Because I guarantee you, she's got far better numbers on exactly what kind of success and failure all of these projects have been. She knows how much of a disastrous dumpster fire Disney Star Wars is under her tutelage and how much money she's lost the company. And I guarantee you, Burbank has been reminding her of that as well. So Gore then confirmed he was hearing similar rumblings before dropping a bit more information. She wants to retire and leave, Gore said, but she wants to do that on a win. Good luck! The Mandalorian is your only shot, and you better release that in theaters, and it better be fan-freaking-tastic. Because even your Mandalorian ratings have continued to go decline season after season. They are abysmal, and you have lost the majority of your audience. Gore went on to say that in order to leave, Kathleen Kennedy wants a huge success that she can ride into retirement. This could be a smash hit television show, which they're not going to get anytime soon, or a major box office victory with a theatrical release. Once again, things that are at least a year or two out. So as a friendly reminder, Kathleen Kennedy is not leaving anytime soon, boys and girls. Okay, so anybody out there that wants to get you out there and says, hey, this is going to happen soon, she's going to be gone. Just know that that's not going to happen. This woman will leave on her own accord. In other words, she wants to go out on a high note like George Costanza on Seinfeld. Well, good luck with that. She's waiting to go out on a big win, and she hasn't had one. Well, no shit. That's pretty obvious, ain't it, to everybody out there? And shout out to Chris Gore. But yeah, no, she hasn't had one. She hasn't had a single one. It stands to reason that Kennedy would want to retire. She's 71 years old, and she's enjoyed a long and highly lucrative career in Hollywood. However, if recent projects are indicative of what the studio under her leadership is capable of, then we might be stuck with Kathleen Kennedy for a very long time. The Acolyte, for example, has atrocious showing on Disney+. We've been over The Acolyte a whole bunch of times. There's been a whole bunch of stuff that's been announced and then been canceled, and they're going to go over all of that kind of stuff. We have beat The Acolyte and Ahsoka and everything else absolutely into a dead horse. With Kennedy's current Lucasfilm contract reportedly set to expire in October, it will be interesting to see if Disney renews her or if Lucasfilm might be searching for a new studio head. I would imagine it'll probably be something similar to what we get with Bob Iger. It'll be some kind of like temporary continuation until they find somebody that they feel comfortable with replacing her with, yada, 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 give a bunch of arguments, and then she'll probably like pick some other chick inside of the studio to replace her. And it'll be just as bad as what it was before. You know what I mean? This isn't going to change anything because unless somebody cleans house, like what, according to rumor, Kevin Feige has done over at Marvel, unless somebody with the cojones comes in there and just cleans house of all the activists, you're never going to get good quality Star Wars again, Star Wars stories again, right? Until that happens. Now, will I admit you might get some good Star Wars stories going forward after she leaves and maybe she is actually hands off, and who knows, maybe the Mando movie will actually be halfway decent. I don't know. But even if we get rid of her and all the rest of her ilk inside of this thing and we actually get back to telling good Star Wars stories, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter because it all leads to the same roads, right? The Disney sequel trilogy. And that is something that will solely be laid at the feet of Kathleen Kennedy from here on until eternity, until people stop talking about Star Wars, until it literally leaves the memory of the cultural zeitgeist. And that's not something that's going to happen anytime soon, boys and girls. She will go down being remembered as the woman that oversaw and destroyed what was once the most successful and evergreen franchise in history. The number one sci-fi franchise that was literally nothing more than a money printer go brrr when it came to toys and merchandise. She has literally driven that into the ground. So it doesn't matter if she retires and she's gone. Her legacy will live on forever until either someone inside of Disney has the balls to retcon everything they've done and start from fresh, or someone else eventually takes over the IP. At the end of the day, if you want good Star Wars, go out there and find Star Wars fan films. Go out there and find people that actually love and respect the lore of Star Wars and will give you good quality Star Wars stories. Because it doesn't matter if Kathleen Kennedy retires today, tomorrow, or in 10 years. Her legacy will haunt the Walt Disney Company, Lucasfilm, Star Wars, and all the fans out there for at least a generation, if not 2 or 3. That's the kind of damage and disastrous dumpster fire that has been the helm and the reign of Kathleen Kennedy over our dear beloved Star Wars. So I'm glad to hear it. She's ready to go. Because trust me, Kathleen Kennedy, if there's one thing you, myself, and the entire rest of the fan base can all agree on, it is far beyond time for you to go. You're a disastrous dumpster fire. You get what you deserve. And after all, you did it to yourself.